Honey, honey, welcome. Hello. We are working now on our little review video here for week 13. And week 13 was a big week because for the very first time we're getting into conjunct order. Okay, specifically B form or plain conjunct. Well, we'll look at that in a second. Okay, so that is the big center of the review right now in this video is going to have to do with B form or plain conjunct order. So let's have a little look at it. Okay. So quickly, A form is what we've been using up until now. Like these last 12 weeks, we've only been using A form. You might not even have known you were using A form because it's all you know. So you didn't have anything to kind of compare it against. But that's what we've been doing. Okay. So A form. It's also known as independent order. Okay, because, well, we'll see why in a second, but because it is works independently. Okay, so what does a form do? A form makes or it is verbal clauses. My cat's trying to crawl all over me here. Sorry, buddy. He wants to be the star all the time. Verbal clauses that form a complete sentence on their own. Okay. So it really is independent. It makes a sentence by itself. So that's like the standard that we're using to score these things is basically at this point, does it make a sentence or not alone? Okay. So verbal clauses that form a complete sentence on their own. So if we look at all the verbs we've been using, if we look at a couple different VIIs, let's say, like you could pick a random like weather word and be like, I could say something like, a familiar one like Nodin. Well, Nodin gets a capital N and a period at the end, and it means it is windy, period. Nodin makes a complete sentence by itself. Thusly, it's an A form. Or another VII could be something like any of the seasons. Okay. I could say something like, I don't know, de Guagin, de Guagin, period. Okay, that means it is fall or autumn. Okay, so Nodin, Degwalgin, or it could be something like, I don't know, Micha. It is big, period. Any VII that you just pull out of the dictionary is probably going to come in A form and it'll make a complete sentence all by itself. It is blank. This also goes for VAIs too. Okay. And that includes all the little embellishments we've been doing to those VAIs as well. So it could be just a plain and simple one. Like I could just say Urjita. He or she is ready. Okay, or gets ready. That's it. He or she is the actor, third person singular. Ojita is the thing they're doing. Ojita. He or she is ready or gets ready. Okay, that's that. Or I could look at other VAIs with a little bit more going on, like tense markers and pronouns. Okay, so I could pick then a different verb, like I could pick something like unwebe, unwebe, which means he or she rests. But I could do things to it. Like I could say nida unweb, okay, with the short I being dropped because I'm doing it. I'm using the modal tense marker da, which means like should, would, or could. And web is rest. So nida and web, I should rest. Still a form because that verb makes a complete sentence. I should rest, period. Nida and web. That's it. And that includes things like negatives too. So I could say Gaween, gi, and just pick a random verb, like maybe zin bige si. Okay. You didn't draw, okay, or you weren't drawing. Zin bige is he or she draws, okay, or even colors, colors or draws. Gawin gigi mzinbiegesi. It's negative. There's a tense marker, there's a pronoun, but none of that changes the fact that it's independent. It makes a sentence by itself. It's a negative sentence, but it's still a sentence by itself. Okay, so that's what we've been doing, and that's a form. It's these verbal clauses that form complete sentences by themselves. Okay, that's what we've been using to make like yes or no questions. You know, do we whatever, do you want to, I don't know, paddle? Do we G-man? No. Guigi mana, do you want to paddle? Nui Gma. Mogę. Gawin nui Gma si. Right? You could answer that positive, negative, whatever. It's still independent order. Okay, it's a form. Okay, because that makes a sentence alone. Gui Gma. Okay, so let's get into now what we haven't been doing in class at all yet. Okay, and that is B form. Another way to describe it is plain conjunct order. It's nice to know both names, A form or independent, because some people use A form and more kind of like grassroots. It's a little less linguistic-y, so it kind of like stuck better in community. But independent order is what you're going to see in dictionaries, in linguistic reference books, in resources and reference guides and stuff. So you got to know that. And then same with B form. Again, you might hear that just, in community classes and stuff. Oh, we're going to use B form. And it's great, but you also need to know that it's called plain conjunct order so that when you're looking in linguistic books or dictionaries or references, you know what to find. They're not going to say B form in a fancy linguistic guide, okay? Or Anishinaabe reference grammar, or in like Brendan Fairbanks's um, Ojibwe discourse markers. If you want to start getting into it, you need to know these terms so that you can use the resources that are around you. Okay. So let's look at what B form does. So if A form makes complete sentences on its own, B form is the complete opposite. Okay. These are verbal clauses that do not form complete sentences on their own. Okay. So literally the opposite of A form. Okay. A form or independent order, doesn't need any help from any other bit of language. It can make a sentence by itself. B form or plain conjunct order makes dependent clauses that do need help. Okay, they do not form complete sentences on their own. Okay, let's start looking at some stuff. What I discussed in class was sort of like B form. You can call them like kind of like buzzwords. That's sort of like just I just call it that because that's not like a it's not like a linguistic term. I just use that because it's words that should like set off a siren in your head, being like, oh, maybe I'm going to be in conjunct order. But really, these are like grammar patterns. Okay, they're things that you try and say repetitively. Okay, like all throughout the day, you're going to reuse certain patterns, these grammar patterns, and some grammar patterns use A form, some use B form, some use C form. Okay, so we're trying to find grammar patterns that use B form or look for these little buzzwords that are like a hint. Okay, so um, these buzzwords, some of the really popular ones, when something happens, or when I do something, or when I'm tired, or when you sleep, or when it rains, or when the kids go to school, or anything like that. Okay. Then you have things like if. If is another big one. When and if are kind of like almost like the default kind of in B form. Like if you just say a B form verb, it's probably going to be understood as like when or if that verb is happening. Okay, so those are really big ones. When and if, don't forget those two if you're going to remember any. Then we got other things, okay? we get things like until, or you get things like while or during or as, okay, like while I'm out for a walk or during lunchtime or as I was explaining something, I was interrupted, right? So while, during, or as are other grammar patterns that you're going to see B form be very present in. You get things like this. I could say something along the lines of like although or even though. Those definitely require B form a lot of the time. I could do things like before and then after. Sometimes C form is used for after. It's a dicey one, so don't like get don't fall in love with after being B form. Just like sometimes you can use it, but not always. And there's like a little bit of a line in the sand. So that's like a further down the road thing. Um, yeah, when, if, until. Oh yeah, then there's things like so that or to or in order to. So I am learning Ojibwe so that I can speak with people in my community. Or even just the thing, I am learning to speak Ojibwe. Or I'm speaking Ojibwe in order to teach in my community, right? So that creates these two-part sentences, and the be form part or the conjunct part is the so that clause. I am learning to speak Ojibwe, A form, so that I can teach. Okay, B form. That's the so that clause, so that I can teach, or so that I can speak to my elders, or in order to understand culture better, or, that's the B form clause there. Another one that I'll put in here and I'll end here is verbing. So verbing is another B form kind of thing. You got to be careful with it because, some like um, tense markers can make you look at things in like a verbing sense. Like um, if I said like Nagiwi sin, Nagiwi sin, it's like I was eating. Well, in English, it looks like eating is verbing. I was eating. But that's because in English we're using the verb of being, which is was in past tense, and then eating then becomes conjunct in English. But in Ojibwe, it's not that. Nagiwi sin is a form. I was eating. Nagiwi sin, right? So then it's a form. So you just got to be careful about that, the verbing thing. You need to really be sure that like, oh, if there's two clauses or it's biclausal, or you understand how that's working out, right? So a good example of verbing would be like, um, I walked around outside looking for birds. I walked around outside is A form. Looking for birds is B form. Looking is the verbing, okay? Looking for birds, dot, 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 is not a complete sentence. All right, so I walked around outside, A form. Looking for birds, B form. That's the verbing, looking for birds, okay? Or like, I was in the kitchen doing dishes. Well, doing dishes is B form. Doing, verbing. Okay. I was in the kitchen doing dishes. Doing dishes is B form. Okay. So just that's what I mean by verbing. So anyway, all these things are buzzwords where if you want to say like when I was a kid, B form, or hey, if you help me out tomorrow, well, if you help me out tomorrow, B form because it's an if clause. Or I waited around all day until you arrived. Well, until you arrived is B form. Okay, it's an until clause. So that's what I mean. These things are patterns that you can recognize and look for in writing or look for in your mind as you're trying to say things and be like, oh, I'm about to say a before clause. I need to use B form. Okay, it's there to help you kind of locate these patterns. And then in class, all we did was we practiced B form on VIIs. Okay, we didn't get into VAIs this week. We just did VIIs in B form. All right. And we looked at a couple little rules. Basically, um, VIIs ending in a vowel or N simply get a G at the end, okay, to make it into B form. And then the only other rule is VIIs ending in a D will have the D replaced with a K. And we'll look at examples of both of these. Okay, so VIIs ending in a vowel or N, just get a G at the end. And then VIIs ending in a D, you switch the D with a K. Okay, that's the only two rules basically for VIIs. So let's get into it, okay? And let's start like kind of changing some words. So if I take a VII like Zagime, Zagameka, okay, there are lots of mosquitoes. That's it in A form, okay? A form. There are lots of mosquitoes. A form. Zagameka. If I want to put that into B form, I look at Zagameka and say that, oh, it ends in a vowel. So if it ends in a vowel, you simply add a G at the end. Okay, so Zagamekog. Boom, that's it. We've just put that into conjunct order, into plain conjunct, and it means when there are lots of mosquitoes. Oh my God, mosquitoes. Okay, why does that word have to be so hard? So that's all we did. We put a G at the end. Boom, it's in B form. We're done. Okay, Zagameka. There are lots of mosquitoes. I can put a period there. Boom. But in B form, Zagamekog, dot, 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 when or if there are lots of mosquitoes. Okay, so I could say something like, oh, um, Ninish God is P Zagamekog. Oh, I'm so mad when there's lots of mosquitoes. Okay, again, that's using it in a sentence. Okay, so Zagamekog. We'll do a couple other examples just so you can see like what does this actually look like. So there it is on a vowel end. I'll pick an N ending now. So I could do something like Nibin. I guess I'll mark this as A form. Nibin, which you should know as one of the seasons. Nibin is it is summer, period. Nibin, it is summer. Then if we look at it in B form, okay, you need to see that, okay, so Nibin ends in an N. So if I go up to my little guide here, VII is ending in a vowel or N, just get a G at the end. Okay, so Nibin ends in an N, I just get a G at the end. Boom. You get Nibing, dot, dot, dot. It's now in B form, okay, when it's summer or kind of like in the summertime. Okay, so that's how you make things like, oh, Nimin on the Gigoing K on P Nibing. Oh, I like fishing in the summer. Okay, in the summer. That's how you get like that concept of like when it's summertime. Niebing. We've put it in B form by putting this G at the end. Okay. And then we can continue on and I'll do the last example just to show you like what it actually looks like. This would be a D ending. So if I put something like Minnow Mogwood, Minnow Mogwood means, again, it gets a period. It means it smells good. It smells good, period. Okay, that's it in A form. Sweet. Minnow Mogwood, it smells good. Now in B form, this one's just an ever so slightly more complicated, um, just by a hair. With these, we're adding a G, right? You're just adding a letter at the end, which is pretty easy. For this one, Minoa ends in a D, right? So we go back up to our little list here. VIIs ending in a D, we'll have the D replaced with the K. So we're actually switching letters out. Okay. So it's just like one extra thing to think about. Minoa we replace, so I backspace the D, put a K in, and you get Minoa when it smells good. Dot dot dot. Okay. So I can say like, oh, naminwen don mi jim pi Minoa. Oh, I love food when it smells good. Again, you can just use it like that when it smells good or if it smells good. Oh, gishpin Minoa. Oh, if it smells good. That's what it does. Okay, so you're replacing the D with a K. That's the last little move. Okay, so if it ends in a vowel, add a G. If it ends in an N, add a G. If it ends in a D, add a K. Those are your three options. That's all she wrote on VIIs. Okay. So then what I'm going to finish with here in this little review is we're going to make a couple biclausal sentences that have A form, B form in them with VIIs so that you can see how this works. Okay. So let's have a look at it. So I can say something like, I want to buy the dress if it's, you know, oh no, I won't do a negative. How about something like, I don't want to buy the dress if it's expensive. Okay, let's do this. So we're actually the step one is finding where clauses start and end. That's honestly, that's where most people just go wrong. Most people who are learning the language, their mistakes are that they don't know where clauses begin and end. So they start in they group things in very weird ways where they take something from this clause and like pull it over and like use it to conjugate over here and they do weird crisscrossy stuff. Okay. Keep your clauses incredibly straight. All right. Clause one, I don't want to buy the dress. That's clause one. I don't want to buy the dress. That's clause one. All right. It's a negative A form clause. Okay, or negative independent clause. So I can use this is one of the little places where you can get away without using a transitive verb. A dawe or a dawen is a VAI plus O. It lets me have an object. Okay, so this is one of the only examples when you're using a VAI plus object plus O that you can do something like I don't want to buy the dress. Normally you have to use a transitive verb there, but I'm kind of bending the rules because we're using a VAI plus O, a dawe. Okay, so then niwi a dawe means I want to buy it. Niwi a dawe, I want to buy it. And I want to say I don't want to buy it. Gawin niwi a dawe si. Gawin niwi a dawe si. I don't want to buy it. Then we can add the dress. Different ways to write dress. You can either say godas, magodas, majigode, majigode. There's different ways to write dress. Godas, magodas, majigode, different ways. Doesn't matter. It's all the same piece. A gode has to do with hanging because it's something that hangs on you. All right, so there's our A form. Gawin nui adawa si majigode. I don't want to buy the dress. Now we're into clause two. If it's expensive. If it's expensive. This clause is an if clause. And remember, that's one of our like buzzwords, right? That's one of our grammar patterns that like, oh, if you see an if clause, use B form. And that's what we're going to do. Okay. So the word or the verb for oh, I guess we should start with if. So the word for if is gishpin. All right, gishpin, if. That's what that means. Gishpin, if. And then we want to say if it's expensive. So ishpaginde, ishpaginde is the VII verb. It is expensive. Ishpaginde. It is expensive. So then I need to put it in B form. So then you look and you say, okay, it's a VII verb. It ends in a vowel, and I want to put it in B form. So I just add a G. And just like that, we have made a very nice compound sentence with two clauses, A form, B form. Okay, Gawin Nuia Dawe Si Majigoda. I don't want to buy the dress. Gish Pin a Spugendeg if it's expensive. Gish Pin a Spugendeg if it's expensive. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, how about something like um while? Okay, like we could say something like I will read while it rains. Okay, something like that. Or let's use a while it, maybe I'll do like storms. Okay, I will read while it storms. Okay, so we need to again, where does the clauses start and end? You have to identify this and you have to get very good at it. Okay, so looking at this, I will read while it storms. Clause one, I will read. I will read. That's clause one. And it's an A form because it's a sentence by itself, right? I will read, period. You could just say that. I will read. Done. Then we have while it storms. While it storms, dot, 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 is not a complete sentence, telling me that it's going to be in B form. Okay. While it storms, dot, 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 the dogs bark. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's not a complete sentence. So we have A form, while I read, or I will read, and then while it storms is B form. So let's translate it. I will read. So I'll do you will because we just did I up here. It's good to practice all the different actors. Okay, so you will read. So the verb is agindaso, agindaso, agindaso. He or she reads. I want to say you will. So we put a G at the front for you. Ga is the future tense marker, right? There's ga and da for the definitive future, like is going to or will do something. This isn't where we use we. We is want to. That's like, oh, you want to read. We're not using we, we're using da or ga. In this case, we're using ga because we have a pronoun in front of it, the G. Then we have a gindaso. Does giga gindaso sound right? Giga gindaso. Mm-mm. Final short vowel deletion. This O gone. All right. Giga gindas. You will read. Giga gindas. You will read. Now we're getting into clause number two, while it storms. And if we look at above, that list of buzzwords or like little grammar patterns that use be form, while or during is one of them. So the word for while or during is magua. Magua with a be form clause is like while or during. Okay, so magua. And there's different words for storming. You can say like gatamagwad, or you could say like nachiwad. Nachiwad is more like it's bad weather, but it could be like it's stormy weather. So Nachiwad or Gatamgwad, they're both good. I'll say Nachiwad, whatever. Nachiwat. Okay, so Magwan Nachiwat right now is an A form, and it means it's storming now. Magwan Nachiwat, it's storming now. If I put it into B form, it'll be while it storms. Okay, so Magwa, look at this one. Nachiwad ends in a D. What did we do? If it's a VII ending in a D that we want to put into conjunct order, we replace the D with a K. Okay. Gigagendas Magwanachiwak. Gigagendas Magwanachiwak. We've replaced the D with a K. It is now in B form, and we have while it storms Magwanachiwak. Gigagindas megwanachiwak. You will read while it storms. Okay, cool. Let's do one last example and then we'll call it. Okay, so one last example here for this could be something like, I guess we'll do let's do a before. Okay, we'll do a before. Um, how about I want to, um, let's do a plural. We should do a plural. The kids will play outside before maybe something like, I know we've been doing a lot of weather, but they do work really well for this. So maybe I'll do something like the kids will play outside before um, well, what have we done? Oh yeah, before it rains will work. Okay. So looking at this, again, we need to find where our clauses start and end. We've got to get super good at that. So clause one ends after the kids will play outside. Okay, outside is the end of clause one. The kids will play outside. Okay, clause one. The kids will play outside. I could put a period there, so it's a form, right? The kids will play outside, period. That's just a simple little sentence. Before it rains is not a sentence. Okay, it's a clause, a dependent clause that is not complete, which tells me it's B form. Also, it's a before clause, before it rains, which also tells me it's B form because that's one of the buzzwords that we look for is before. Okay, so let's start to take this apart. The kids will play outside. So we've got the kid, okay, which is binoji, and we want to make it plural to kids. So how do we pluralize the kid? Binoji becomes binoji. All right. NH becomes NYAG, right? We flip our H upside down. The kids will play outside. Okay, so we need to say that they will play. So there's different verbs for play. You can use domino. In Cape though, it sounds like you guys used djike. So we'll use djike. Okay, djike. All right, so djike. Right now this doesn't sound good, okay? Binojiag djike, because binojiag is plural, right? They. And then jike is singular. It's he plays or she plays. So we have to make it plural. So how do we pluralize a VAI that ends in a vowel? Binojiag djike wug. Okay, now we've got a plural little simple sentence. Binojiag djike wug. But we want to say they will play outside. So we need a future tense marker, future definitive, not want to, but will. Okay. This is when we use da because there is no personal pronoun in front of it. Binojiag da jikewak on de ged jikewat. Where are they going to play? Guajing or Guajing or Aguajing, whatever. It doesn't matter. Guajing, Guajing, Aguajing. Binojiag da jikewak Guajing. So the kids will play outside. There's our A form clause done. Okay. Now we're moving into B form because we're starting at before. Before it rains, that's a B form clause. So we need the verb for it rains. Give me one. Okay. Give me one. It rains. Give me one. It rains. A form. So we need to put it in B form, but we also need to capture before. Okay, so how do we do before in Ojibwe? Like what do we have to make a sound or write something down that shows that it's before. And it's actually done with a preverb, okay? Jibwa. And jibwa is hyphenated directly onto the verb that it's happening before. So before it rains, jibwa gima one. Well, we'll change it in a second, but it goes on the verb, okay? Jibwa gima one before it rains. But again, it needs to be in B form. So we look at gibbon one as the verb. It's a VII that ends in an N, and we're putting it into conjunct order. So we add a G, and that's it. It's now in B form. we're ready to rock. Jibwa before it rains. Okay. So again, get used to words reducing in word count, right? Like in English, before it rains, three words. In Ojibwe, Jibwa Gimawang, one word. Okay. It's always going to reduce. Okay. The kids will play outside. It's like five words in English, it's three in Ojibwe. It's always going to be less, almost always. Okay. If it goes the other way, and you have like five English words and like eight Ojibwe words, you've probably done something very, very scary wrong. So just use that as a method, okay? Count your words. If you have less Ojibwe words than English, you've probably done it right. It's a good thing to follow. But there it is. Okay, there's some example sentences using VIIs and B form with all the different endings, vowel ending, D ending, N ending, various different actors. We use different tense markers. We used me, you, we used plural, them, right? So we've fleshed out a lot of examples. Okay. So that's that. Stay tuned for next week where we will review VIIs in B form, but then we're going to switch over to VAIs in B form, and that really starts being a lot of fun. Okay. And you'll see we can do all sorts of different stuff with VAIs in B form. So that's it. Thanks for coming out. Hope you enjoyed this review, and hopefully it helped you out. Okay. We'll see you next week.